Overplayed podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every single Thursday. My name is GoodGameBro. I'm one half of the show. The other half is, well, the boomer that I'm pretty sure bought Twitter Blue this past week. Mills.
Wait, what's wrong? What's wrong with Twitter Blue? It's
Everything.
$3. You can literally like edit. Well, you can't edit your tweets. What it does is now when I hit send, it like puts the tweet grayed out and says, "Are you sure you want to send this?" and waits like a minute. Like, and then I have to hit send now, or it'll automatically send like a minute. So like, whenever I get into a heavy, heated argument now, I actually have to give myself a minute before I do this. Now, to be fair, I could just, look at the draft of the tweet. Yeah, self-control is not something that's very strong with this one. I'm sorry.
You're paying $3 a month, I assume, because you don't have self-control for Twitter.
Yes, $3 to make sure that my social media self-control is in check. Also, it is a very cool feature that brings the quote-unquote top articles. It is people you follow. If multiple people tweet about the same thing, it'll pop up in this little place where you can see what the people you follow is trending at the time, not just what the Twitter algorithm wants you to see. I'm gonna be real. I probably wasted $3. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, over self-control, but I have found that it is the best $3 I've spent over the last week because I have used that little tweet preview from Twitter Blue multiple times to cancel not only typos that people used to make fun of me for, but also I have stopped myself from arguing multiple times by looking at a tweet and going, this isn't worth it.
This is the most boomer thing I think you've ever done, and that's saying a lot.
Wait, what? Yeah. Hold on. I'm not that much of a boomer, okay?
People used to make fun of me for my typos on my tweets. So now, with Twitter Blue and the $3 a month that I've spent, I no longer make as many typos, and I don't argue with the young kids that argue with me with their anime avatars and their Pokemon pictures. That's you. That's literally you.
This is going to be the Twitter clip, isn't it?
100%. It should be.
I should curse so that way they can't put it up.
Other than being a boomer, what have you been doing?
I've been playing an immense amount of Forza Horizon 5 while I'm getting ready for Battlefield 2042 to release this Friday. I can't wait. But real talk, the Battlefield 2042 that I think we both played in the beta, the open beta that was out. I think we both did some content on it too. I think it was in a good direction, but I think we both agreed that the extra month will help it greatly.
Yep.
Then they started releasing things like, hey, this is what Hazard Zone looks like. Hey, this is what the portal is going to look like. And I believe what is his name? Westy? I believe Mr. Westy put up a video of him playing what is essentially in the Battlefield portal, a 1-for-1 Bad Company 2 remake.
Yep.
And that right there is enough to sell me. Bad Company 2 is held in high regard by many people as one of the best Battlefield games of all time. And the fact that you can recreate it in the Battlefield portal makes me really excited for what the portal can do overall, especially if you can share like portal builds or portal creations between users.
Yeah, I mean, I've been all in on Forza as well. I think Forza Horizon 5 is incredible. If you see my drivatar out there, I'm absolutely wrecking you because I'm a dirty driver. I'm not afraid to admit it, unlike Mills. But I'm hyped for Battlefield 2. I think, I thought Battlefield always is a special place for me because I've played it for God knows how long. But when I played 2042, it was very much I definitely see all the elements. There's some moments where I'm having like, oh my God, it's so much fun. This is Battlefield. But I feel like they were missing something. There wasn't like that hook. And maybe because I'm jaded by battle royales, I can't wait to try out Hazard Zone.
Yeah.
But I'm also afraid, like, I don't need Escape from Tarkov level for Battlefield, but I don't want the watered down, like grocery store, EFT as well. So I'm hoping Hazard Zone get its hooks in me. I'm hoping Portal has some really cool people hosting servers that I can jump into and relive Battlefield Bad Company 2, which is my favorite Battlefield of all time.
Yep.
Even like I think about like Battlefield 3 and Operation Metro and like all that stuff. Hopefully we'll see some of that come. But
Oh, Metro was so good.
I kind of hope we see some, more than anything, I hope we see some really cool game modes built in Portal that then become officially adopted by Battlefield into the actual game. That's what I'm really hoping for, because the community wants to get their hands on things. They make really cool, really dope stuff. And sometimes the official company says like, okay, we want to sort of piggyback and adopt that and use that as a thing. So fingers crossed on that side.
Games that allow their communities to create as openly as they can within the rules of the game, and sometimes outside of that box, I find that even if the game is lacking in some areas, the community normally finds ways to make up for that. And
Yep.
again, it's easier for millions of people to make up for something that a group of, a couple hundred can't do altogether. That's my excitement for Battlefield. Is Battlefield regularly likes to give a lot of that creation to the community. So I am cautiously optimistic for Friday. And again, sports gamer, so obviously I play a ton of that stuff where community creation is sometimes given, but really restricted in most places. I'm super excited to just play a game where it's just a sandbox like that. I hope they took this month and really tuned the weapons and the movement. I think the movement was a big thing people didn't enjoy. And the helicopters, hopefully the helicopters are tuned down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love shooting rockets into the air, but I'm hoping to hit a couple things while they're up there too. But this brings it back around to Forza. Forza Horizon 5 released Friday for premium members, and Tuesday, not only for people who purchased it, but in one of the larger releases here is it's on Game Pass.
Yep.
And we've talked about Game Pass before being an outstanding value. If you have a Series X or even a Series S with Forza, this experience just blew my mind and continues to blow my mind as we go. Forza Horizon 5, it follows a similar formula as the Horizon series. Unlock races, to unlock cars, to be able to tune cars if you want to unlock big, you race against a plane, race against a train, big jumps, a little bit of Burnout Paradise mixed in there. And at the same time, it goes further than that. There's a mode in there called the Eliminator that is Forza Horizon 5 BR. And I was like, what? How do you do that in a racing game? But they've done it. You go in, it drops, I think, 60 people in, and they drop cars from the sky that you have to find and acquire. And the higher level car you have, the way you eliminate other racers is the regular challenge system where you honk your horn behind them. A point of interest comes up and it says the first person here, the other person's eliminated. And if you eliminate them, you can get their car. It is incredibly important to not only get to a car first, but also to start eliminating people, because you do not want to be the smaller that arena gets, because the ring does shrink down every so often. The smaller that arena gets, the smaller the points of interest are between each other. And you could just be driving the wrong direction when you challenge somebody and get a significant disadvantage. I can't believe that they've found more ways to take a racing game and innovate on it in fun ways.
Yeah, I love it. I think Eliminator was in 4, but I think it came in like later into the game, if I remember correctly.
Right.
But it's a great like change of pace for people that are sort of looking for that like battle royale-esque sort of feeling, for people that are coming over. I think it makes a ton of sense. For me, like the customization of that game is incredible. Like how you can sort of wrap your cars and the designs people make in there. My brain melts trying to comprehend how they even put half of these like together, but it's really, really cool. Similar to what MLB The Show has, where you can sort of do the logo creator with the in-game pieces, same sort of style system that you have here. But the driver chart system, I think, is like the best thing ever for racing games, in my opinion. Being able to go in and see familiar gamer tags and non-familiar gamer tags, or even like, on Xbox, it's a follow system, right? So it's not I can add you, but you don't have to add me back, right?
Right.
And so even in mine, like I have Major Nelson, and then some other people, I think they work at Xbox that I've added, but they obviously didn't add me back, but I still see them in my races. And I know it's not them, but it's driving like them. And that's a really cool thing, because I'm like, oh, I could try to see if I can beat their drivatar. Or like if I'm going against you and you're probably obviously a dirty racer, you hit my car, I'm like,
Yup.
it's driving exactly like Mills would, you know? And to me, like, that's the coolest thing. It's very similar to what NFL 2K5 had, where NFL 2K5 had the VIP system way back in the day, where you could download ghosts of different players so that you could find a top player on the leaderboard, download their ghost, and then play a head-to-head game against their ghost. So it played not one-to-one like them, but I mean, pretty darn close, to be honest. And I mean, like, I hope more games adopt that, not just sports games, not just racing games. Like, I want to see more and more games have some system like that, because at the end of the day, it's a teaching tool for a lot of people to learn, like, oh, they're turning this way or cutting corners that way, or they're using this sort of like thing. Like, you can learn to get better by watching different people try it in a different way than you do.
And for a game that you really don't know how the AI reacts because they're all using human based behavior. One of the biggest problems we have in sports games these days is when you play the CPU, we want them to be more human like. We want QBs to make mistakes once in a while, but we also want them to develop tendencies individual from each other. We want NBA players. I think NBA does this probably the best right now, but with their tendency menu, but we want them to have human tendencies and we want players to play like they do in real life. Whereas in Forza, people are playing like they race. Like you said, for me, I'm a clean racer most of the time, but when it
No
comes to
shot.
no, real talk, real talk. So if I'm being serious, I am dirty at times, but I do dirty corners. I regularly will take a corner and try to inside cut somebody because I know that if I rub them, I can speed off of that. I
Dirty.
won't. And I know if I'm racing behind them that I can touch the tail end at high speeds and whip them a little bit to lose their speed and whip around them.
Dirty.
It's not dirty. And Rubbin's racing. We talking about this, but it's a really cool feature. And I love the fact that no matter if you're alone, if you play solo, you never feel alone. You never feel alone in this game. There's always cars zooming around. There's always drivatars doing things. Riders Republic does this as well,
Yep.
very well. And again, because they're using the same formula. And what Forza Horizon also does is it keeps pushing the goalposts. You get something every time. It gives you multiple goals to go through. You can go. It gives you multiple like tiered goals. Like if you don't think you can get to 36 stars by Friday, you can get goals for 12 and 24 as well. Like their seasons are like weekly and fantastic. In Forza Horizon 5, now you unlock portions of the map that all do different things. Like you can unlock the big PR stunts, or you can unlock dirt racing, or you can unlock street racing. You can unlock what you want to do in the order you want to do it. There are not many games anymore that let you choose how you want to play, how you want to progress, and then say, hey, look, if you never want to touch this, you never have to. You're going to have to replay some stuff, or you might have to continue going this way. But if you never want to touch this to unlock these cards, you don't have to. You can do, that gives you a car voucher to start off with. You can get cars through wheel spins. You can purchase them with credits. You can unlock them through races. You can do so much in Forza Horizon 5. You never feel like it's weird because you never feel like it's complete, but you always get sense of achievement throughout the entire process.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the sheer amount of cars that I've already collected just from wheel spins alone, or from being, owning previous Forzas or pre-ordering all the different stuff, like, they're rewarding you for being a loyal player of the franchise. Love seeing that. You're getting stuff for being, involved and being sort of a heavier player. But they also have like really cool accessibility options too, right? So when you're creating your player, they have stuff for people that are amputees. They have all types of weird zany outfits too. Like I think I'm an astronaut currently right now, like an astronaut helmet.
Identifiers.
I have an astronaut outfit.
They have identifiers for like he, she, and them all.
Yep.
And that's because your GPS will call you he, she, or they, like whatever you want to put it in there, which is again really forward thinking for video game companies these days.
100%. And you're going to see your character, like your character is a big part of the game too, right? They're talking to you, they're touting you, and your character is out there doing the best mates dance like Mills is doing now.
Yeah.
God, that is a nightmare. That's nightmare fuel. But to me, like, it's just so important when you're playing a game, to be able to like see something or some version that represents you or how you feel about yourself. And so when you have that in the game, that again is putting you as the, first thing that you're really seeing, like it's just a great thing. I again, we can talk about customization, especially when we get to sports games, about how lacking it is for a variety of different ways. But seeing that to me was great. But I've lost hours into that game already. The first 10 minutes, I had goosebumps. I was playing on quality mode on my Series X and my headphones on, my Steel Series Arctis Pros. And I literally got goosebumps driving through and through that first sort of cinematic thing they take you through. I'm like, it's incredible. The sound design is phenomenal. I recommend if you're playing the game, if you can, if you don't have motion sickness problems, drive in the car cockpit view. It's just the immersion level you get, I think, through that is second to none. I absolutely love it.
The things that it has accessibility wise, you mentioned sports games and just how lacking on accessibility sports games are in general. Madden is incredibly hard to play if you don't know football. NBA has an incredible learning curve if you don't know basketball. Some of the things they add here are a game speed modification. If you want to play at a slower game speed, but keep the same miles per hour. Screen narrator, obviously, text to speech and speech to text options. So if you want to type something in game, you can literally speech to text. Disable moving backgrounds, which is something they added late. Notification duration setting, which allows players to set how long notifications come up. Subtitles, font size, background opacity, highlight keywords. And the coolest thing that they're going to add is coming in a post-launch update where they are going to add an on-screen sign language interpreter. And this is
Wow.
coming. This is coming post-launch. Okay, it is a lady in a white shirt with a Horizon logo on it that comes up in the bottom corner. That if you are deaf or understand sign language is your first language, she actually comes up in the bottom corner with a green screen background and signs whatever's going on the screen at the time. So a lot of people, it's interesting because you would think subtitles would take care of that, and I've done some research into this. Apparently, subtitles sometimes are done too fast for people that use sign language to understand to read. So using a sign language interpreter, which is their first, it makes sense because they do so much in different languages now. Sign language is a language that we forget about a lot. Having this added in post launch, it does not have a date yet. It will be in the first post launch update, but just shows just how committed to accessibility they are and how other game studios really should be.
I can't think of another game that I've ever seen that has ASL in there. I literally am trying to think
Not
of one, but I
visually,
can't think
no.
of one. No.
Not an actual visual interpreter, like an actual person went through this entire game and did the sign language for it.
That's
It's
phenomenal.
an incredible amount of work had to go in and do that.
Amen. Hey, good to them. Again, I love seeing it. Like Microsoft, I think they've done a really good job, I think, from an accessibility standpoint of pushing their studios to, adopt things to help people connect with their games. And, I love seeing that. Because again, like as someone who doesn't think twice about, being able to speak and hear and not have any issues with that side of it, like I don't think twice about that. But when you think about like the amount of people that'll impact that love video games that can now play and have way more context to understand what's going on, that's huge, man. At the end of the day,
Yep.
it's huge. It doesn't take away from anyone's experience, it only enhances it, which is I think what everybody wants.
And if you want to talk about wider reach, it coming out on Game Pass is a great point, but they went one step further. There is a premium upgrade to Game Pass that if you wanted to play early, it's $45 to upgrade to the premium version,
That's
but it
awesome.
also gives you the VIP car pass. It gives you the season pass for the entire life of the game. It gave you like a bunch of starting credits, like a bunch of starting vouchers, bunch of starting car, everything that's in the premium, the high end version of the game. And not many games do that. Many games, if you have the Game Pass version, there is no upgrade. If you want to get the upgrade, you have to pay for the full version. And from what I'm hearing, the fact that if you purchase the premium upgrade, you now have the license to the premium version of the game. So if it does for any reason come off Game Pass, it's spoiler alert, it won't. But if for any reason it does come off Game Pass, you now have it for the life of the game.
Incredible. Another reason to get Xbox Game Pass. Best value in gaming by far.
Yeah. And again, if Game Pass continues to gain, or Xbox continues to gain game studios like they did with Bethesda, Game Pass is only going to continue to get better. And again, just the best value in gaming right now.
Agreed.
I don't think it's even that close. Sports, we have finally. I know you're as happy for this as I am. College basketball is back.
Thank
I'm a
God.
Terps fan. They are ranked this year. You're a Duke fan in Mike Krzyzewski's last year.
I know.
It's all right. I'm only do it once. Okay, you
I'll
ready?
do it.
I love Duke, and so I will say mad respect to probably one of, I'm not going to call him one of the best college basketball coaches to ever have seen the floor. But does Mike Krzyzewski have enough to go out on top is the question. Going to be a lot of heartstrings, a lot of motivation for that squad, and a new player on Duke that might help them get that. Talk to me about Duke's newest addition.
Paolo Bentero. I've been hyped for this kid for a while. I was kind of nervous a little bit, to be honest, before he really got on campus, just because he's a big athletic kid. And if you look at what Duke has recruited in the one and done era, we've had a lot of like big athletic kids that maybe haven't necessarily panned out the way we might have thought, or had some, issues. But seeing Paolo out there, I mean, this kid was hitting a fadeaway turnaround jumper. Like, he gets to the basket when he wants. So I think he had 22. I think Trevor Keels, who was dominating yesterday at the guard spot, another freshman we got out of the DMV area, might I say. Okay, the DMV area produced some of the best basketball talent on the planet. Just going to throw that out there. Kevin Durant as well is from the DMV. Let's see.
I'm from the DMV too.
We're from the DMV. See? Yeah, there we go. It's the best podcast.
Big fundamental. Yeah, so cool.
But I mean, Trevor Keels had, I think, 25. Banchero had like 22 or 25 as well. So, I mean, together they almost had nearly 50 of the 70-ish points that they
79.
played.
79 for Duke, yeah.
And they played against a top 10 team in Kentucky. So to me, this made me feel very good. The last couple of years have been a little spotty for Duke. I mean, even look at last year for a lot of teams, but Duke in particular, what happened with, one of our star recruits sort of leaving early. This gave me hope that Coach K's last ride off into the sunset is going to be a great one.
And let's be fair, last season never happened.
Yeah.
I mean, March Madness happened, but last year's college season was abysmal. So many teams not playing full seasons, so many teams not having full player rosters because of COVID or opting out. It was unwatchable at times. Realistically, college basketball was unwatchable at times last season just because of the low standard of play. This season, we're starting off with Duke, Kansas, but it's like we're going further than that. I believe it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we get, let's see here, we get another top ranked. We get Maryland playing George Washington tomorrow. Friday night we have the Villanova is traveling to UCLA 4-2. Saturday, I believe we get Texas Gonzaga. That'll be 5-1 already. I mean, come on, man. I'm excited as hell. We get Michigan's playing. Michigan's good again with Juwan Howard at head coach. Talk to me about, but let's talk about the favorite. All right. And the far and away favorite. Like, there is number one Gonzaga, and there is everybody else. They are essentially Alabama this year. Maybe a bad comparison considering Alabama's got a loss on their record. But when you think about college football, you think Alabama. Is Gonzaga finally becoming that program in a mid-major?
Gonzaga is also a really weird university. I need to look up actually how many people are actually on that campus. Like, they have a dumb small campus, if I remember correctly. They have. Do. I mean, their student body, I think, is less than 10,000 kids, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But for a school of their size to be as good as they are for as long as they have been for what feels like 20-ish years is incredible, right? We know what Drew Timme was doing last year. He was obviously a stud for them. Some people thought he might have went pro, but I think hearing a lot of scouts talk about him being a second rounder, he thought, let me just give it another year and sort of see what we ultimately get out of that, despite how good they were. But Chet Holmgren, I think, is like, I've never seen someone so tall, so skinny, and this is even lumping Kevin Durant into that conversation, that is that effective. This is a 7'1" kid that weighs a $190 if he's got both of his shoes soaking wet on top of a bucket that he's holding as well. He is a very, very like I just don't know how to describe him. He can shoot. He can get to the bucket. He's been a really good defender because he's super long. He's got really good basketball IQ. I think a lot of times we see these 7-footers come out, and yeah, they've got some things that they can do, but their basketball IQ isn't there. This kid is a really smart basketball player. So when you couple him with Timmy, you've got Nemhard, who I think is a senior finally now, and then Homer. Like this really feels like the year that if their coach can get things together,
yeah,
Gonzaga is going to make that Final Four run, and once it's there, you never know what's going to happen. But this feels like a Final Four bust team for me.
There are conversations going around about Gonzaga having the too much talent problem. And we've seen this in college basketball happen sometimes. Having Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren both on the floor at the same time feels like an offense that is not going to continually work in a much. Most of the NCAA is very guard heavy when it comes to the play. Timme and Holmgren, obviously, some of the best bigs in the game right now. Timme probably maybe the number 1 overall pick next to Ranchero. I hate to say this, but is that maybe what costs the Zags down the line? Especially they're gonna go up against teams like Kansas, who can run the ball. And they're gonna have to slow down Kansas with Holmgren and Timme. Are they gonna be able to do that?
I don't feel as confident in Gonzaga's guards this year like I felt in the past 2 seasons. I guess you could probably argue.
Yeah, for sure.
Jalen, or with Suggs, obviously last year, like that was really the guy that we're like, okay, we feel super confident because that dude is controlling the ball in pressure time, and he did really well with it. But I like Gonzaga because Drew Timme is really good off ball. Chet Holmgren is really good. He can go down into the post a little bit. He's got a face-up game more so than a back-down game. I think his back-down game is still a little limited, but he's young, so of course it's going to be limited. Yeah. But he can handle the ball. And to me, when you think about pressure, if their guard play isn't what they needed to be come March Madness time, you can let Chet Holmgren bring the ball up a little bit. And that's going to create some mismatches. You either have to put a smaller guard on him, and then you have to worry about how you're going to get the rest of your team to match up. Or you have to put a big on him, and Holmgren's probably going to eat them up and bring them outside, or let someone cut behind them and go baseline or get into the bucket because now their 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" guy has to guard Chet Holmgren on the perimeter. I think they're going to be fine, but again, you definitely need good guard play come March Madness. But I feel like the way that their team's constructed, they'll be okay because of who they have and how they'll use them.
Yeah. Curious, is there any team, and we can say top 25 if you want, is there any team that you're just saying that you have your eye on that says, maybe they're not chosen to be, maybe they're not being looked at as a national championship team right now, but if they gel the right way, if they all come together, they could make that jump?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of teams that are probably getting good eyes now. Purdue, I like Trayvon Williams a lot. The big fella is
Love Purdue.
A great talent. Yeah. So I think Purdue is going to be a really fun team. They're always going to have a tough schedule, and they're always going to find a way to sort of battle through that. So Purdue's the team that I'm obviously watching. Look, Memphis, I know Amani Bates is super young, but that kid is a superstar. I've been watching his YouTube highlights for God knows how long. He reclassified. He's out there early. So he's 17, I think now, as a true freshman. They have Duran, I think is the other kid's name that's on Memphis too. So there's talent there. They have Penny Hardaway. I think Memphis will be a really fun team to watch. I don't know much about the rest of their teams. I need to watch them a little bit more.
Yeah.
But Purdue's a team that I feel really strong about, that like they're just going to be one of those teams you don't want to play come March Madness time, barring some sort of injury.
Memphis sitting currently at 16, which means they would be a Sweet 16 team, is essentially what the voters are saying. I think Memphis might have the most talent in the entire country. When it all comes down to it, I think if they can gel, and it might take a year or two for them to gel, keeping those guys around. But I really do think Memphis could come out of this. I think we could be looking at Memphis as a top 4 team by the end of the year if they get their stuff together.
I think sorry to interrupt, but I think one thing that'll be interesting is I really feel like, do you remember when Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley were both in college at Texas and at Kansas State? And there was the whole like, who's the better player? I really feel like by the end of the year, we're going to have that conversation about Amani Bates and Chet Holmgren about
Yep.
who's the better, like, forward big sort of player and how they play. Like, I really think that's going to be the marketing that they push for and hope for come March Madness.
Having a full season is going to be really fun to watch those two grow too. I think both of those guys, as much as I hate to say that, it's like I'd love to see Bates get more of the. I would rather see Bates get more years than Holmgren. I think Holmgren is tuned and ready to go. I think you could put him in the draft right now and he would go top 5. I'd like to see Bates get that extra year or two before he goes, but we both know, like, barring any major injury, he's one and done. I think him, Holmgren, I think Ranchero is one and done. All these guys are not going to pass up money to be those athletic shooting bigs that they can be, in the next level. Real quick, so we can finish this up. Is there anybody coach wise that you think is, I won't say hot seat, but like needs to come out looking good this year? Maybe with a deep run into March Madness to really save their job.
I would have said Shaka Smart if he hadn't already left to go to, I think Marquette is where we ended up seeing him. I think he would have supremely been on the hot seat. I kind of wonder like what Kentucky is feeling about Calipari right now.
A lot of drama follows him around too.
Like Calipari has been, the thing about Calipari is everywhere he goes, he wins. I'm not saying titles, but he typically wins very well, brings in great recruits, has great rapport with the players. But there's always that period of time where like he's rubbing somebody incorrectly, right? And then we typically see him venture off to go elsewhere. I don't think it's this season, but if they have another sort of, again, you could throw last season out like you mentioned, but if they have another sort of so-so season, Kentucky's not a program where you can sort of just, be middle of the road or be slightly better than average. You need to be elite there. And I feel like if this season doesn't go well, he's going to have some decisions and you're going to hear the Calipari rumors start to circle back up.
I want to bring up Georgia, Tom Crean. Tom Crean has missed the tournament, I believe, 4 straight times, and they just lost PJ Horn last month. PJ Horn won't be on that team this year due to a season-ending knee injury. Their top scorer that's coming back is Jackson Etter, who scored 2.4 points a game last year. This is a team. Tom Crean had Anthony Edwards on this squad and went 5-13 in the SEC.
Yeah.
You got to do something. Apparently, I'm just reading up about this now. Crean's buyout goes from 7.2 million down to 3.2 million after this season. And I can tell you right now, if they don't step up and make the tournament, he needs to make the tournament. And he probably needs to get to day 2. For him to save his job there. The other one I want to bring up, and I'm going to bring up the entire conference right now as a whole, because especially ever since there were some teams that left this conference, it feels like this conference has struggled to make an impact, and that's the ACC. We're talking about Miami has not looked good recently. Jim Larinaga is 72, so like even he probably just steps down anyway. Notre Dame has not looked good. Clemson has not looked good. Dude, Pitt literally just lost to Citadel.
Wait, what?
Yes. There were upsets. Yeah, dude. Let me just make sure I'm not going crazy here.
Oh, Lord.
I remember if I from night 1 had some big, and including Virginia losing to Navy. Okay, and don't get me wrong, Navies are my boys. All right, Navies are my boys, but dude, you cannot lose to Navy on night 1. And if there's any sport that you can. If there's any sport that you can lose and come back from early on, it's college basketball. But if I remember correctly, I believe, yes, Citadel beat Pitt 78-63 in Pitt on night 1.
Sheesh.
Okay? You can't do that. Georgia Tech lost to Miami of Ohio. Okay? This entire conference is struggling recently. And I could see multiple coaches going out of there. And one of those guys that I really want to see get a chance at a bigger score, a bigger school. One of those guys that I really want to see get that shot to get the Shaka Smart shot is what is his name? It's not Schmidt. Oh, damn, what is his name, dude? I literally just had, Mark Schmidt. Mark Schmidt from St. Bonaventure, who has had
Oh,
who has
yeah.
had some really, really nice runs as of late. Would love to see him get into the ACC and really work around on some of those teams. But yeah, dude, night one we had Florida State struggled. Florida State struggled. Virginia, who was number 25 to start the season, lost to Navy. Pitt lost to Citadel. It's just
Ohio
it's an
State beat
absolute.
Akron by 1. Like,
Yeah, I saw
what are
that
we
too.
doing here? Yeah.
Yeah, no, Ohio State. And again, you can say night one all you want. When you're going for the top side of this, your losses out of conference matter. Like, you're scheduling cupcakes so you can get dubs early. You cannot lose to teams like Citadel early on like that. It just can't do that. So look for those coaches to be really on the hot seat going into the season. Gonna be fun talking college basketball with full stadiums, man.
God.
I watched Maryland versus Quinnipiac. It was nothing but the crowd, you could feel it, man. That Duke game, dude, you could feel the energy again. I was like, this is so much more fun to watch. Speaking of energy, we're mid-season point, a little past it because of 17-game season for the NFL. And after a bloodshed in Vegas for week 9 out of how many underdogs won, the MVP race is kind of up in the air, I believe. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, normally the favorite, has fallen completely out of favor. I don't even think he's on the betting list for odds right now in the top 10. I'm going to give you the betting favorites. I want you to make a case for one of them or two of them that you could see at the end of the season. We've got Josh Allen and Tom Brady at plus 350, Kyler Murray at plus 500, Stafford at plus 750, Dak Prescott at plus 900, Aaron Rodgers at plus 900, Lamar Jackson plus 1100, and Justin Herbert at plus 1600. Obviously, missing from this is Derrick Henry with the injury he had to his knee. There is talk that Henry may come back if they make the playoffs towards the end of the season. That would have to be a miracle at this point, I would think. But out of those players, or if you have another player in your mind, who can you see making that surge in the second half of the season?
You're gonna I feel like you're gonna disagree with me. Sorry, words are hard. You're gonna disagree with me on who I'm gonna say, and some people would be like, wait, what? But if they listen to the podcast, they know why you're gonna disagree. If I had to bet, I'm not a betting man, right? If I was, I'd have a better record than you do. But if I was a betting man, the person I'd put money on to win MVP is Lamar Jackson. I feel like Lamar Jackson is fully in control of what he's doing. He's 9th right now in terms of passing yards. He has 600 rush yards go on top of that. If you're looking at a player that is, you look at MVP from like what it should actually mean, right? Who is the most valuable player on their actual team? The Ravens would be an absolute dumpster fire, probably a 2-win team, I feel like, without Lamar Jackson. He has won multiple games from behind. He has had those moments I think every MVP has, right? Where you're coming back and you're winning. You have these things that people are looking at the Sports Center highlights. Lamar has done it all. And I think he's had some bad moments this season, obviously. But I always will believe in Lamar Jackson the same way I believe in LeBron James. Like if it's clutch time, like if they give him an opportunity, I'm going to always think Lamar's about to get it done. Like you want to watch when he's playing. Josh Allen, I get it, but I feel like when you look at him, like he has a stronger team around him, I would argue, than that. Tom Brady.
And they just laid an egg in Jacksonville. They lost 9-6. Yeah.
That was ugly. That was a baseball score. Tom Brady, like I feel like Brady is going to do Brady things, but Brady also has a LeBron factor against him too, to a certain point where you sort of expect greatness to a certain level and you kind of hold that against him. Kyler has a great chance. Stafford didn't look very good this past week. Dallas has way more issues outside of Dak, I think, right now. Aaron Rodgers is not going to win any favorability with the media going forward, so say goodbye to his chances. And then Herbert, I just don't think it's his time quite yet with how he's played this season, so I'm all in on Lamar for MVP this year.
I'm going to say this. It would have been Kyler Murray for me until Colt McCoy beat the San Francisco 49ers. Mm-hmm. And pretty handily, mind you. And the 49ers aren't winning any divisions anytime soon. But I know they have a great defense. Arizona does. But it made me realize just like, I know Kyler Murray is a very dynamic player. But if Colt McCoy could come in and win 31-19 against a division rival like that, I worry just how important Murray is to that offense. And at the same time, we've heard a lot about it being Kingsbury's offense. Like it's Cliff Kingsbury's offense. That's what he was brought in to install. Is it that Kyler Murray fits that offense? Or is that offense better with Kyler Murray? I'm not saying Colt McCoy obviously is the answer, but I mean, that's the style that McCoy ran too. So I'm kind of out on Kyler Murray. As crazy as that sounds, Josh Allen and Tom Brady. Josh Allen lays an egg in Jacksonville. My MVP doesn't lay eggs like that. I'm sorry. Stafford has struggled, but again, Stafford has everything around him. That being said, Stafford is exactly what we thought he was, and that is fantastic. And once he got out of Detroit, he is having a chance to show that. Minus one or two bad games. Again, Tennessee deciding to play defense like they're the 85 Bears. I don't know what happened there. This is going to hurt for me to say. This is really going to hurt me to say this. I agree. Well, first of all, I agree with you that Lamar Jackson does more. And I think Lamar Jackson has that Shohei Ohtani kind of like vibe for MVP, is that he does things that nobody else in the league can do. He's rushed for 1,000 yards. He can throw for 3,000. And he's not particularly, I'm going to condition this, so I apologize. He's not particularly turnover prone either. The turnovers he has is because of the volume of touches he has normally. I think I compared him. Somebody came in my chat and said that Baker Mayfield doesn't turn the ball over as much as Lamar does. And I was like, yeah, Baker Mayfield touches the ball about 3 times less than Lamar Jackson does.
Lamar is the offense.
Right. Lamar, yeah, no. If there's no Lamar, they don't have an offense. I will say their receiving core is looking better and better by the day, and Hollywood Brown is finally turning into the receiver they thought he was going to be now that he's healthy and in, I believe, his 3rd year. And Rashad Bateman looks like he's picking up where Sammy Watkins got hurt with no problem. But my MVP for the year is Aaron Rodgers. And I know that he won't get the voting. I know how much I've given him hate for everything he's done. I mean, deservedly so. But he got a $16,000 fine for the COVID issues. No suspension, nothing like that. I don't think he deserves a suspension for that. But I mean, I do believe he should have gotten a bigger fine. But Green Bay went in with Jordan Love against the struggling Kansas City Chiefs, and Love scored 1 touchdown, and that was a garbage touchdown. There is not a team in this league that revolves around one player more than the Green Bay Packers revolve around Aaron Rodgers.
The Baltimore Ravens?
No. Even the Baltimore Ravens. I truly believe that if you took Aaron Rodgers off the Packers and Lamar Jackson off the Ravens, I still think the Ravens would find a way to win due to John Harbaugh. God, this really is going to hurt me.
Excuse me?
I do believe that. I do believe that if they had a semi-capable backup quarterback, I think that they could go. I'm not thinking they're going to be the same, but I think they go 6-11. I think they could go 6-11 without Lamar.
I'm looking all around for your reasoning, and I can't find it. I literally can't find any sound.
What do
reasoning.
the Green Bay Packers do with Jordan Love on a full season?
They are perfectly
After what
fine.
You saw.
You can't say
perfectly
a rookie,
fine.
Here's why. You can't use a rookie's first start ever.
Whoa. Hold on. Wait a second. Hold on. The dude has been on the bench watching Aaron Rodgers.
Did you watch the game?
For as long as Aaron Rodgers was on the bench watching Brett Favre.
Did you watch the game?
I did watch the game. I saw him.
You watched the offensive line. The offensive line was abysmal. And again,
no. Hold on. You want to talk about the offensive line? The Kansas City Chiefs did the Madden equivalent of Engage 8 every play. Jordan Love couldn't read the blitz, couldn't throw hot, and didn't know what to do.
It is you cannot say a sound Mills weeks from now would agree with me. A rookie's first game is not indicative of you need multiple games for a rookie to see how they handle. You know as well as I do, practice and NFL live action are 2 entirely different things. And you also know that defense was throwing everything at him because they know we have a rookie. He's got green behind his ears. We know we can absolutely exploit him right now. I will take one game and say, nope, I can't judge him entirely off of that. I would need to see multiple. But that Green Bay Packers team is deeper, way more well-rounded than the Baltimore Ravens team is. You remove Lamar, who has 80 to 85% of the touches for that team every game. They are in shambles. They are lucky to win 2 games in that year. You get Jordan Love some time on that Packers team. They are going to win 4 to 5 games, which is double what the Ravens would absolutely win.
The NFL team stats for the Kansas City Chiefs. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're clear. What I will say to you is I agree you cannot judge Jordan Love on one game. Okay. I fully agree with that. Okay. The Kansas City Chiefs right now have given up 227 points on defense. In the AFC, they are behind only the Houston Texans, the Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets. Okay? Jordan Love led the Green Bay offense.
Let's give context here.
One touchdown.
Let's give context here. The majority of the points they have given up were in the very first, if you break their current part of the season in half, it was in the vast majority of the beginning. Look at how they played in the beginning of the year. Browns they gave up 29. Ravens they gave up 36. Chargers they gave up 30. Eagles they gave up 30. Bills they gave up 38. Then it started to get better around the Washington game. They gave up 13 to Washington. They gave up 27 to Titans. That is the one anomaly there. They gave up 17 to the Giants.
The one anomaly? They gave
Look in their last 4 games.
They gave up 17 to Danny Dimes.
In their last 4 games, one team has scored more than 20 points in their last 4 games. They have played much better in their last 4 games than in their first 4 games. Their first 4 games, the team scored 38, 30, 30, and 36.
You're going to talk context, and you're going to talk about Taylor Heineke and the Washington football team, who have looked abysmal on offense. You're talking about them losing, by the way, 27 to 3 by the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry. You're talking about the New York Giants. They almost lost to the Giants, giving up 17 points. Are you kidding me with this defensive?
The issues that you're arguing against are more about the Kansas City's offense than their defense. Their defense, if you watch the last 4 games, have played. I'm not saying you're misinterpreting. I'm saying the defense in the last 4 games has played significantly better than their defense in the first 4 games of the season. There's literally stats right in front of me that are proving their defense has played better. I'm not saying their defense is a top 5, top 10 defense. I'm simply arguing their defense has played better in their last 4 than in their first 4.
Put your money where your mouth is. Pick up the Kansas City Chiefs for your fantasy team in Rare Drop.
No, because that's not my argument. Why? Mills, you're missing completely.
No,
listen to me. Open your ears. My argument is they are not a top defense. I am arguing
they're nowhere near top defense.
Mills,
they're a bottom third defense.
Mills, you are not listening to anything that I am saying. Stop talking for a second and hear me out, please. I am saying the Chiefs are not NOT, which means that I am saying they are not a top defense. I am saying they have played better than how the Chiefs played in the first 4 games of the season. So this is not a difficult concept. The first 4 games, they were egregiously bad. The last 4 games, they have played significantly better than they played in their first 4 games. That is not a difficult concept to understand.
Okay. And Jordan Love still scored 1 touchdown on them. The entire Green Bay offense with Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, Aaron Jones.
You just agreed that he's a rookie, and we don't judge a rookie off their first game.
He scored 1 touchdown
because he's a rookie in his first start.
No, I get being a rookie in your first start. He was coddled for a year and a half to get here. Okay, most quarterbacks get thrown in the fire immediately. There are people already calling for Justin Fields' head. People think Zach Wilson might not be okay at all anymore and are calling that Mike White should be the starter. Matter of fact, the Jets are starting Mike White this week.
You sound like you've been listening to Colin Cowherd with how bad your takes are. Can we jump to a different subject? This is probably the worst I think I've ever seen you go like sensationalist on something. I can't. I'd rather talk about a different subject.
I'll give you a yes or no. Is Jordan Love the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers next year?
That is had nothing to do with what the argument is.
No, I'm not. That's nothing to do with the argument. I'm asking you. I'm going on. Moving on. Is Jordan Love the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers next year? Do you think those chips fall in line and Jordan Love will end up earning that? Do you believe that Jordan Love is the future for the Green Bay Packers?
If Aaron Rodgers goes, then yes, he's the quarterback, because you're not going to find a major quarterback in free agency. That rarely ever happens unless you want to go after Baker Mayfield, which they definitely don't want to do. And drafting, they're not going to be high enough to draft a quarterback that's going to be of the same regard as Love. So I think they give him a year to figure out. Worst case scenario, they get a good draft pick and then they draft a quarterback the following year. So you have to go with Love with what you've invested, because his contract, it'll be his contract year next year.
You bring up a good point. I want to ask you about that. I know you're a Steelers fan and I'm a Ravens fan. So the Browns are kind of, when the Browns go good, like we respect them, it's a good divisional matchup, but when they go bad, it gives us a chance to laugh at them too. Baker Mayfield, after losing OBJ, had a great game last week against the Bengals. There's talk his extension's coming up soon. And after the season, they're going to have to sign him to extend his rookie deal in year 4 for year 5. Do you think he gets that extension? Do you think that I believe the number thrown out was $35 million a year? Like, is he going to be able to get a contract that is worthy of a starting quarterback? Or is the other two options does he take a lesser deal to stay in Cleveland? Or is Baker Mayfield a free agent?
I think you're going to see, unless Baker puts up ungodly numbers the second half of the season, I think it's framed as a hometown discount for Baker and the Browns. They get him on the sort of the deal that I mentioned the previous week of the Colin Kaepernick sort of structure, where they're going to make it highly incentive based, where his AAV seems like it's high, but it really isn't. Similar to what Mahomes, if you look at Mahomes' actual structure for his contract, he's making like 20 mil, I think, a year, and then 22 mil. And then he's sort of stuck in like a 22 mil for the next 3 years. And then it starts to escalate there. I feel like they're going to be careful and cautious with Baker. I think Baker fits Cleveland more than people give him credit for. I think it sucks that he's having a shoulder injury, but I don't think they fully commit to him unless it's in a highly structured deal for him.
And I know, because we talked about this last week, but so last question on this. If he hits free agency, will a team pay him the money he's looking for? Or that he will, you think a team will pay Baker Mayfield as a top quarterback?
Yes. Some team will always gamble. I look at the Houston Texans as a team, for example, that would throw $35 million a year towards him because they need a hometown Texas kid to come home and save the franchise. So some team will always throw money. It's the NFL. Someone's always desperate and always value. All you need is one team to believe in you, and I think he would get that in Houston.
And you barely ever get a young quarterback like coming off rookie into free agency that's worth anything. Like I think they went over the draft that he came out of, like the Josh Rosen he'll never start, or the Sam Darnold that came out there. Like, you don't normally get a good, even if he's not great, like a good quarterback at that age to be able to throw money at. So I actually agree with you. Speaking of the NFL, Monday night was about as egregious as we've seen in terms of refereeing for multiple years. Tony Correnti threw a taunting penalty at Cassius Marsh after he sacked Ben Roethlisberger and looked at the Pittsburgh sideline. Tony Correnti threw this flag from behind Marsh, and Marsh never crossed the closest hash mark to the Pittsburgh sideline. He said that he saw the player posturing and thought it was taunting. Has it gone too far?
Yeah, there's a really good rant by Ryan Clark that talks about this, and I'll echo and paraphrase to a degree. But my problem with referees has always been, referees like to be the show. They like to be the face. They like to have people recognize them for some way, shape, or form. We've had this problem well before Ed Hockley and his massive arms were, flexing on people in games and throwing flags with the short sleeves. Like, we've had this problem for God knows how long. It's even more apparent now, I think, with social media. But whenever there is subjectivity in sports, it always leads to controversy and frustration and all types of different issues. Referees sometimes will see, imagine you are a 12-year-old kid and your dream is to get to the NFL, the NBA, whatever. We'll use the NFL for this argument. You're a 12-year-old kid, you want to get to the NFL. You are working significantly harder than everyone else in your area. Maybe you have God-given talent, but you still have to work significantly hard. You get into college, you prove people wrong, you dominate, you get yourself drafted, you get into the NFL. You've now beaten the odds. You are of the 0.01% of people that have been able to do something ever. You're in the NFL, you get an opportunity to sack someone, you hit a quarterback, which again is another fraction of a percent of people to be able to do something at your position. You do that in a close game and it has meaningful impact. And because you happen to just stand in a certain way, because your hips are slightly postured forward, or you just have your hands on your hip, or you celebrate, God forbid you celebrate because you did something that requires so much athletic talent and so many things to line up in the universe for you to be able to do. Someone says, no, we don't like that. Let people have fun. The same problem that baseball had where people weren't able to do bat flips or do all these different things, unwritten rules and different things populating within that whole sphere. Let people who are great at what they do celebrate within reason. If you're getting in someone's face and pushing them or whatever, or causing someone severe harm, yes, that is an issue. Flag them, penalize them, fine them if you have to. But let people dance. If you don't want to be sacked, you should have better protection. Your quarterback should move better. You should call different plays and structure your, counter blitzes significantly better. Stop penalizing people for being great at what they do and having some ounce of human emotion when they do that task.
Do you think taking the NFL referees off TV and taking their microphone away? And my suggestion to this was give them a communicator to the commentary team, or so the commentary team can hear it, and so that way, like the board op at the stadium can hear it, so the explanation goes up of what the penalty is, who it is in the player, and then also so the commentators know what the call is, and just take the referees completely off the broadcast. Think that works?
I'm here for it, but I also think it's 2021. Why are we leaning heavily on people in an analog way when we have so many digital technologies to aid them? Referees' jobs are difficult, don't get me wrong, but we should be helping them with all these different camera mechanics and things that we have, and we have the ability to track how fast a player is running or degrees of separation between a corner and a wide receiver. Use some of this technology to help out the referees. Referees should be used for contextual things, right? Human things that we can't necessarily get from a machine or from devices reading specific information, but allow them to help with that information. And to your point, don't let them be a part of the broadcast, but help them make better calls, make better decisions, not have to 50-50 guess things. Or when they're doing really bad things, I think referees across all sports should have to answer media questions. Like if we're not letting, I don't want them to be in the broadcast, but let them answer media questions. Because if you make a really bad call, if you're a player and you make a really bad play or a dumb play, or you try your hardest and it still doesn't work that well, you have to then go in front of the media and answer those questions. If a referee is not doing their job to the highest ability, and if players are being held to that same standard, referees should have to answer the media as well.
Cassius Marsh had to answer. He had to answer questions about the referee, and now he has to keep his tail between his legs, because if he says anything about the referees, he's going to get fined. I guarantee you, if Cassius Marsh put his hip out and hit the referee as he went, he would be fined and or suspended and probably ejected from the game for contact with the referee.
Yeah.
And to see Tony Correnti do that is just unbelievably awful to watch. And the fact that it was caught on camera is even worse. Real quick, we're talking about refereeing, so I have to bring up at the NBA. Dame Lillard came out and stated he doesn't believe that the refereeing, calling new fouls for non-basketball moves and things like that, he believes it's hurting the game overall. And we've seen players like James Harden struggle with the new foul system. Doesn't seem to be hurting Steph Curry at all. But do you believe that the new wave of refereeing in the NBA is the right way, or do you think they're going a little too heavy-handed?
There's some things with the new ways the referees are doing it that I'm okay with, right? I'll call it the Kobe rule, where the pump fake jumping into players, like that needed to be gone a decade ago, and they finally got rid of that. So like that's great. But I think for some guards, you're seeing it really impact them. Guards that like to drive more than anything else are being impacted because they're not getting the benefit of the doubt on some of these calls. Some of the bumps big men are allowed to sort of go. The way the rule is essentially structured typically is that if an opposing player is going up to try to lay up the ball, a big or whoever's contesting them can jump straight up with their hands up. As long as they don't lean forward, swat forward, make momentum forward, they're fine. It's not technically a foul call. We hadn't had that as a rule it wasn't actually being enforced that way for forever, right? When these kids were in high school, college, and then in the NBA, it wasn't necessarily happening. Dame is incredible. Dame, when I look at the law of averages, the same way I look at James Harden and the law of averages, I think he's going to be fine. I do think there needs to be some adjustment. I think what they're not doing is giving context to a small, like a 6'3", 200-pound guard jumping up against, 250-pound, 6'10" big, right? There's something that needs to be accounted for there, I think, within the rules. But overall, like, I like that the game is allowing them to be a little bit more physical, but I don't think it's really where it needs to be fine-tuned, I think, a little bit more from where it's at now.
I agree. The one place that I don't like it is driving to the hoop. I feel like driving to the hoop, almost as you stated, when a guard's going up against a big, I think that they're allowing a little too much physicality. And I don't want to see, James Harden flailing his limbs up in the air and them to get a call out of that. But I would love to see, a few more calls, celebrate the guy that, beats his guy off the ball. Don't punish him for getting into a situation where he's getting hacked just because you're trying to prove a point. Non-basketball moves should still be called the way they're being called. People flopping around should absolutely, matter of fact, they should call fouls on the people flopping more. But that being said, when a guy makes a successful drive and is trying to get to the hoop, reward him for doing that. Don't punish him just because the guy stood up straight in his way, that kind of way.
Yeah, to me, part of this feels like the NBA is trying to find a way to keep the bigs from becoming as extinct. The bigs that aren't necessarily incredibly offensively gifted, they're trying to keep those guys that are paint protectors around a little bit more relevant. Right. But, again, fine tuning for that rule 100% needs to happen, just like they need to fine tune the basketball a little bit more.
By the way, real quick, Evan Mobley is like damn superstar.
Yeah, he's adapted way quicker than I thought he would. I thought he'd have been fine, but not to what he's been so far for Cleveland. He's going to be something special.
It is a barn burner, Washington and Cleveland right now. So go ahead, finish this.
Anyways, that's it for this week's episode. Again, if you have not picked up Forza Horizon 5, if you've Xbox Game Pass, you get it free. Go ahead and check it out. It's a fantastic game. Look out for my Drivatar because it'll run you off the road, and also Mills' Drivatar do the same, despite him saying he's a clean racer except for corners.
GoodGameBro GG, I believe on Xbox it is, if you want to follow him, and then Mills Twitch on Xbox if you want my Drivatar in your races.
And believe me, we'll both run you off the road sooner rather than later.
We will.
A lot of college basketball. Make sure you check that out this upcoming week. The NFL will be kicking back off with some great matchups this week as well. And hopefully the NFL referees will be staying out of it. We'll be back next week, Thursday. Drop you another episode. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Ciao.